Hello, and welcome to another episode of Darkness of the East. Before we begin, there's something you should know. In many parts of Asia, stories like this aren't told for entertainment. They're told as warnings. The names change, the places change, but the patterns don't. Tonight's story is one of those patterns. It started with a sound that should not have existed that late at night. Not a scream, not a cry for help. A baby's cry. Soft, thin, almost polite, as if someone was trying not to wake the neighbors. Rena was already on edge. It was past midnight in Banyuwangi, the kind of humid night where the air feels thick enough to drink. Her scooter had died 2 streets from her aunt's house, and her phone battery was sitting on 2%. She told herself it was fine. 2 streets, a straight walk, a quiet neighborhood, a shortcut along the back lane that ran behind a line of old banana trees and a fenced-off patch of unused land. Then she heard the baby again. It came from ahead, somewhere near the trees. Instinct kicked in. The body reacts before the mind has time to argue. A baby at this hour meant trouble, an abandoned child, a desperate mother, a kidnapping, anything. Rena slowed. The cry wavered, then steadied, like the baby had noticed she was listening. She took 1 step forward. The sound became quieter, not further away, quieter, as if the baby had turned its face into a pillow, as if it was right there, just behind the leaves, but trying to keep the crying small. Rena stopped so suddenly her sandals scraped the road, her skin prickled. She remembered something her grandmother used to say, not as a story, not as a joke, but as a rule. If the crying gets softer, do not follow it. She tried to laugh it off, but nothing came out, only a tight swallow. The baby cried again, softer still. And that was when she smelled it. Frangipani. Not the faint sweetness you catch near temple offerings or graveyards in the daytime. This was thick, fresh, almost wet, like the flowers had been crushed in someone's hands and the scent was being pushed directly into her face. Rena's stomach dropped. There were no frangipani trees in that lane, she knew. It was banana trees, scrub grass, and the sour smell of drains when it rained. That was it. She turned on her phone torch. The beam cut a narrow path through the dark, catching the shine of leaves, the dull metal of fencing, the edge of a concrete drain. The baby cried again. Now it sounded like it was right beside her ear. Rena spun, torch swinging, light jittering over the lane. Nothing. Then something shifted at the edge of the beam. Not a movement like a person stepping out, more like the darkness itself had changed shape. Her torch landed on the banana trees. For a second, she saw only trunks and hanging leaves. Then she saw her. A woman standing under the leaves, as if she had been waiting there the whole time. White dress, long black hair, bare feet in the mud. She looked ordinary in the way nightmares do at first, almost beautiful, until the mind catches the wrongness. Her hair was too still, not moving with the air. Her skin was pale, not in a healthy way, but in the color of something kept from sunlight for too long. And she was smiling. Not wide, not friendly. A small smile that suggested she knew something Rena did not. Rena's throat locked. She tried to speak, to ask if she needed help, to demand to know where the baby was, to say anything that would make this normal. The woman tilted her head, as if listening to Rena's silence. Then the baby cried again, but it did not come from the trees. It came from the woman, from somewhere inside her, deep and wrong, like a sound being played through a body that was not meant to hold it. Rena stumbled back, foot slipping near the drain. She caught herself on the fence, metal cold under her palm. Her phone torch shook so hard the light blurred. The woman took a step forward. The lane felt smaller. The air thickened. Frangipani filled Rena's mouth like perfume turned to water. Rena did not run yet. She could not. Her legs had forgotten how. The woman's smile widened, and the hair moved, not with wind, with intention. A slow parting, like curtains being drawn back. Rena saw the woman's neck. There was a puncture mark there, small but dark, like a dried wound. She felt her own neck ache in sympathy. The woman lifted her hand, fingers long, nails a little too sharp. Rena finally moved. She ran. Not towards her aunt's house, not towards safety. She ran towards light, any light. She sprinted down the lane so fast her lungs burned, phone torch bouncing, breath tearing in and out. She did not look behind her. She could not afford to confirm what her body already believed. But she heard it. The baby's cry stayed with her, not fading with distance, keeping pace. Sometimes ahead of her, sometimes behind, sometimes directly beside her ear, like it was running inside her skull. She burst onto the main road, nearly colliding with a passing motorbike. The rider swore. Rena didn't stop. She ran to the nearest open stall, a small late-night food place with plastic chairs and a bright tube light. She stumbled into the light, half choking, half sobbing. The man behind the stall looked up, startled. Another customer stared. Rena gasped out words that made no sense. Baby, trees, woman, smell, frangipani. The stall owner's face changed, not confusion, recognition. He stepped out from behind the counter and grabbed her wrist. His grip was firm, not cruel. He pulled her under the brightest light and leaned close, eyes scanning her face like he was counting something. "Did you follow the crying?" he asked. Rena tried to answer. Her voice came out thin. "I heard it," she managed. "It got softer." The man swore under his breath, then looked behind her, down the road, into the darkness she had come from. He did not ask to see the woman. He did not challenge her. Instead, he dragged a plastic chair closer to the stall and pushed her into it like he was afraid she would collapse. "Do not go home yet," he said. "Not alone." Rena shook her head. "She followed me." The stall owner's gaze snapped back to her. "Did you smell flowers?" Rena's eyes filled. "Frangipani." He exhaled, slow and heavy, like a prayer that had failed. Then he did something that made Rena's blood run cold. He reached into a drawer under the counter and pulled out a small bundle, wrapped in cloth. Inside was something metallic. Not a weapon, not a charm you buy as decoration. It looked used. He tucked it back quickly when he realized she was staring. "You wait," he said, voice low. "You drink water. You do not talk about her name. You do not invite her with your mouth." Rena wanted to argue. She wanted a rational explanation. Instead, she stared past him into the road. The baby's cry had stopped. The silence was worse. Because now, under the stall's bright light, she noticed something else. On the inside of her wrist, where the man had grabbed her, there was a faint smear. Not blood, mud, dark and wet, shaped like the outline of fingers that were not his. Rena sat there for nearly an hour, shaking, watching the road, forcing herself to breathe. The stall owner called someone, a neighbor, a cousin, an older woman who arrived with her hair tied back and a face that did not waste time on disbelief. She took one look at Rena and clicked her tongue. "You walked near banana trees at midnight," she said, as if stating a simple fact, like weather. "And you listened when you should not." Rena couldn't stop her voice from breaking. "I thought it was a baby." The older woman's eyes softened, but only slightly. "That is how it works," she said. "It is meant to make your heart move before your mind does." She reached into her bag and pulled out a small bottle of water. She whispered something under her breath, then dabbed the water behind Rena's ears, on the back of her neck, and on her wrists. The frangipani smell was gone now, but Rena swore she could still taste it. The older woman leaned close enough for Rena to feel her breath. "Listen carefully," she said. "If you hear crying again, you do not follow. If it becomes softer, you do not go closer. If you smell flowers where no flowers grow, you turn back. You do not look for what is calling you." Rena nodded, tears spilling. "Is it gone?" she whispered. The older woman's expression did not change. "Sometimes it follows," she said. "Sometimes it watches. Sometimes it only wants to know you noticed." Rena went home just before dawn, escorted by two men who walked close on either side, speaking loudly about ordinary things as if noise itself could keep the night away. For 3 days, nothing happened. Rena tried to convince herself she had imagined it. Stress, fear, a tired mind misreading shadows. On the 4th night, she woke up to a sound outside her window. A soft crying. Not loud, close. So close it felt like it was coming from the space between her curtains and the glass. Rena froze in bed, every muscle locked. The crying shifted, becoming quieter, and a sweet smell seeped into the room. Not from outside, not from the air, from the corner of the bedroom, where the light did not reach. Rena squeezed her eyes shut and pressed her hands over her ears. She did not move. She did not speak. She did not dare to breathe too deeply. The crying stopped. In the silence, she heard something else. A faint scratch, like nails on wood. Slowly, carefully, as if someone was testing the surface. Rena stayed still until morning. When sunlight finally filled the room, she checked the window. Nothing was broken, no footprints, no sign of anyone. But on the outer wooden frame, near the edge where her curtains hung, there were 3 thin marks. Parallel, too evenly spaced to be accidental. Rena did not tell the police. What would she say? Instead, the story did what stories in places like this always do. It traveled, quietly, through family lines, through neighborhood stalls, through late-night conversations spoken with half-lowered voices. Someone mentioned a cousin who had heard crying near the riverbank and disappeared for 2 days, later found wandering with no memory of where she'd been. Someone else said their neighbor's brother saw a woman in white near the plantation road and woke up with bruises shaped like hands around his throat. A midwife in another district shared a warning that had been passed down in her own family. Do not whistle at night. Do not respond to calling voices. And if you smell frangipani when there are no flowers, you do not look for the source. Online, people argued as they always do. Some called it superstition. Some laughed. Some insisted they had experienced it, then deleted their posts days later. The pattern remained consistent. A woman, a cry, a scent, and the sense that the night was using kindness as bait. In West Kalimantan and across parts of Southeast Asia, the figure behind these rules is widely recognized. Pontianak, also called Kuntilanak in many tellings. A female spirit, often described as the ghost of a woman who died in childbirth or suffered violence, returning with a presence that is both familiar and terrifying. In some versions, she is linked to banana trees, appearing near places where the night feels too quiet. In others, she is marked by her laugh, her long hair, and the way she draws people in through sound and scent. The logic of the belief is not random. It is a warning system built from generations of fear, grief, and pattern recognition. Do not wander alone at night near isolated trees and dark lanes. Do not follow sounds that should not be there. Do not assume a helpless cry is always helpless. Because the point of the Pontianak story has never been to entertain. It has been to teach people what to avoid, even when curiosity and compassion pull in the opposite direction. There are also old claims about how people tried to survive encounters. Some speak of protective prayers, of elders bringing water and recitations, of community intervention rather than lone bravery. Some mention folk methods that are described as control rather than cure, the idea that the spirit can be restrained by specific actions, but never truly made safe. That detail matters, because it explains why the fear does not end with one night. It becomes a new rule you carry. Rena tried to live normally after that, but her body no longer trusted quiet. Every night, sound became suspicious. A cat's cry in an alley, a baby coughing in another apartment, a neighbor's television muffled through walls. Anything soft and human-like made her skin tighten. She stopped using shortcuts. She avoided empty lanes. She left lights on. For weeks, nothing happened again. Until one evening, months later, she attended a funeral. The air was heavy with incense and flowers. People moved in soft, respectful clusters. Someone had laid frangipani near the offerings, white petals stacked carefully, their scent sweet and thick. Rena stood near the doorway, trying to keep her breathing steady. Then she heard it. Not loud, not dramatic. A baby's cry, somewhere behind the house. At first, she thought someone had brought a child and it was upset. Then the crying became quieter, and the frangipani scent shifted, sharpening, as if the flowers had suddenly been crushed. Rena did not turn around. She did not look. She stepped further into the light and forced herself to keep walking, eyes fixed ahead, jaw locked. Behind her, the crying stopped, but as she passed the doorway, she caught a reflection in the glass. For the briefest moment, a white shape stood outside, just beyond the crowd, hair black against the dark. Not moving, watching, and smiling, small and knowing, as if to say, "You learned the rule." This is not an isolated pattern. Across different places, different languages, and different families, the warnings repeat in the same shapes. So if you ever hear a baby crying at night, and it gets softer the closer you get, stop. Do not follow the sound. And if the air suddenly fills with a sweet floral scent where no flowers should be, do not look for what wants you to notice it. Some warnings don't come from fear. They come from people who learned the hard way. And some things only need to know that you noticed them.